1. And we are live. Welcome, ladies. Welcome, gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well in the local smiling contest. And we decided to have a smiling contest this morning. Yes, I haven't brushed my hair properly. It's been one of those mornings. On the upside, I gargled with some salt water, put salt through my nostrils, first one way, then the other. So I'm feeling quite salty. And sitting with me in the studio here is our wonderful brother, Shinobi. I call him Obi-Wan Shinobi, Toby-Wan Shinobi, because he's a Star Wars brother. He's a star brother, basically. And we're going to be having a little bit of a tongue wag about the Zodiac man. Welcome, dear brother. For those of you that don't know Toby, he's a decoder. He works a lot with language models. What do they call him? LLM? No, he doesn't work with LLM. He works with non-AI language models. Let's be clear about it. We are not AI related. But the true esoteric occult side of language and decoding how language fits together and the occult nature of life and word and mysticism and philosophy and what's going on in the world. Why do we see this insanity and craziness around us? What does it mean? And everything else between heaven and earth. Welcome, dear brother Shinobi. Do tell us a little bit about yourself. And by the way, his channel is also, for those of you on my channel, you can just access his channel in the recommended channels. You'll see it there. It's sorry about that. Take a lot. Okay, I'll get it now. Give me 1 second. I'll let you introduce yourself while I quickly check in a delivery.
Sure.
These guys come when they come. I'll be a minute. No Big problem. Love, brother.
See you soon. Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Toby, aka General Shinobi. So yeah, I like to kind of flip and reverse things like topics, subjects, symbols, etymology, language. So with AI, people know it as artificial intelligence, which is true. It is, of course, artificial or kind of data orientated, mechanistic, but I'd like to take that artificial and raise it with an ancient intelligence, because that's what will combat the artificial, which is our ancient technology being language, symbols. It's a means of communication. That's what technology is. It's how we communicate, and it's how we communicate with source or God or the all mind, is using this data, which is ancient intelligence, which is language, symbols, mythology. This is how we connect with the archetypes. So yeah, there's of course the artificial, but there's the ancient as well, which is resurging now, which they've tried to bury. They've tried to bury all of our lineage, our connection to our ancestors, to nature as well. The ancient intelligence is nature. The artificial is this mechanistic. One's mechanical and one's magic. So yeah, my channel is called Systematic Zoo, if anyone wants to check that out. And on Instagram, it's Systematic Zoo as well. Today we're going to be talking about the esoteric face of the Zodiac man. I think we're going to start with the head. It seems like a good place to start at the top, with Aries, and work our way down from there. And of course, we're in Aries season at the moment. So yeah, I don't want to start going into that just yet. I'll wait for Franklin to get back. There he is.
Welcome, brother. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're all good. Oh, there's 9 of you in the chat already. This was a lastminute.com. Sorry for the last minute. Just here we are. Hello, look at us. I just got 2 stylus pen sets delivered for really cheap. They're really nice looking stylus pens. Big love, dear brother Gaz. How you doing? Welcome, man. And they're really good, man. Metal stylus pens. I think I paid about $6, $7 for a set of 2. And I got 2 sets. One for my girlfriend. I think I'm going to get another set. They look so damn good. I'm going to get a set for my boy, get him his own set. But when you're getting nice, good stylus, and it's like metal construction, metal body, it feels like a Parker pen in your hand. I was like, ooh, And they work on all devices. So I'm excited about that. You can sign documents on my phone. So yeah, the construction of humanity and mankind, we've just gone through Aries, haven't we? And I mean, there's been a lot happening in Aries. I mean, discussion-wise on the round table. And we've had just this last week a lot happening in Aries. There's still a lot happening in Aries. Aries is still on the table, so to speak. Namaste. Welcome to all of you. I see we got 23 of you in the room, 24 of you. Wow. Welcome to the crew. I hope you guys are smiling through. Hope you find the words are true. Hope you don't forget the deepest inner child within you. And that's really what Aries is all about, isn't it? It's that inner child, that the child of the Zodiac. Let's grab a picture. You know what they say about pictures? They tell 1,000 words. And, so let's do it. So Zodiac, before we fall too deeply into the pictures, Zodiac. That's interesting. Man. There we go. So they say how important an image is to convey an idea. And I think really fundamental when we're going to look at the psychology behind this whole process, as well as understanding these fundamental principles. So Aries, we see it right up here on the top left corner. We see it's like, it's really the ram, the head. And the word Zodiac, just to begin with, they'll tell us it comes from etymological Greek, right? Which I wouldn't say is not true, but I would say that there's a more true truth behind that truth of Greek. So in the Zodiac, let me see. Let's pull it up for you guys so you guys can see it for yourselves, because, I like it when people get to see it. When they see it, then they know that I'm not just making it up, although you never know. Google does make it up, but this is something that we do sort of recognize and realize is true. So when we look at the word Zodiac, remove from there, put on there. There we go. When we look at the word Zodiac, we will find the Greek Zodiakos, right? And which literally means a circle of little animals. Isn't that cute? Hey, brother? Don't you find that really, really cute?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
A circle of little animals. I mean, gosh, that makes, like, talk about the inner child. Huh?
Yeah, and with animals as well, it's like the animus and the anima, the animal. Like, animals are the spirit of the all. So the Zodiac being the animals, and us being us having aspects of all these animals. It does link to the animus and the anima as well, like the spirit that flows through all things, like outside of us, inside of us as well.
100%, totally. And so when we go and dive a little deeper into the graveyard of the universal tongue, which they call Proto-Indo-European, which is really just a group of languages. It's a graveyard of words, how I like to envision it, rather than an actual language, because there's no actual evidence that Indo-European, Proto-Indo-European was actually a language. But it's an idea, but it's a very ancient idea. And so the word Gwe is where we'll find this coming from, right? And I can't help noticing Zion, you know? Zion means animal, living being. And so Mount Zion, the Mount of living beings, right? So Mount Zion has obviously got to do with looking at the stars, right? Zodion, diminutive Zion, which means little animal. So Zion means animal, and Zion and Zoidion means little animal. But the Proto-Indo-European Gwe is where this originates from before it got to Greek, which is obviously going right back to the roots, possibly before we were writing words down. So there's a little bit of an idea of the word zodiac and what it actually means. And so Aries, Aries is interesting because Aries, obviously we're talking about Mars, right? And when we're talking about Mars, we're talking about the ram. I'm just going to go and handle my child quickly. Give me a second, brother.
Yeah, I'll just point out that Mars is an anagram of rams, which is interesting because Aries is ruled by, Mars is ruled by Aries and Scorpio. But it's interesting that the ram is to do with the head, and then that's an anagram of Mars as well. It's interesting how these things kind of connect. And then as well, Aries been associated with the head. And another name for head is Ras, hence Ras clot. And then the clot would be a clot, like a head clot, like a blood clot, because you can swap the vowels around so that A and O are interchangeable. So clat is clot. But yeah, Ras is the name for the head, as is Ra. The sun god, Ra. And Rahu is the north node, the head of the dragon. So, it's interesting. And as well, we have like battering rams as well. Well, of course, you're kind of like you're opening up doorways with the ram. The ram smashes doorways. And we have the word dormant, which is door, and ment, which is mind. So dormant isn't just our head. Dormant energy means untapped potential. It means there's doors there. So you've got to open the doors. And we open those doors with the ram by tuning our head with the all mind, opening up doorways, dormant energies, because all of the energy is there, as within, so without, and we get there through doorways, portals, whatever word you want to use. But it's interesting that you have the battering ram. Aries are that's kind of Aries I've come across. That's kind of what they're like. They're just busting in doorways, bust through, and then we'll talk about it later or whatever. Sometimes it can be seen as arrogant, just like straight to the point. But you've got to respect that sometimes. That fire. Me personally, I'm a Capricorn. I butt heads with Aries quite often, just because I don't get along with people who are arrogant, because it's kind of like this straight away, and then you get to know them afterwards. Whereas me, I need to get to know people first, and then we can like spar. But I have noticed that the people at Aries are quite arrogant, which isn't necessarily a negative. It's just something that I butt heads with, being a Capricorn, but I guess it's just having a lot of fire, a lot of energy, a lot of kind of outwards energy, which is good. It's not necessarily negative. I'm not saying it's a negative. So if there's any Aries out there, don't hate me. But yeah, because I'm a goat, I probably just butt heads often,
Yeah, Aries is a very interesting vibrational field because so we've been excuse the scraping sound of copper. We've been led to believe that the number 9 is related to the peacemaker, right? By the popular the Enneagram that was invented in the 60s, the new age version of the Enneagram. And but when we look at like the roots of it, right? Let's pull it up here for you. When we look at the roots of it, and this is something which is important because numbers are fundamental. It's fundamental to understand numbers if you want to understand astrology, because they are fundamentally linked. And in the way that they're linked is rather interesting. If we look at the Enneagram here, we can see number 9 at the top. And number 9 has always been Mars. So the number 9 rules Aries and Scorpio. And number 9 is an active energy. It's very activist. It's very humanitarian. It's very dynamic. It holds the dynamism of number 5 and the martial, the discipline of number 8. Number 8 is really discipline. But when you put that dynamism of number 5 with the discipline of number 8, because number 8 has got the discipline to get the job done, right? Number 8 will always want to do the best that they can do. Number 8 will want to achieve success. An 8 personality, Saturn, that they don't want to do something unless they're going to do it well, right? They don't like doing a half job. It's not Capricorn, not Aquarius. It's not their style, right? They do something, they want to do it well, and they want to be able to say, like, I did that. That was my work. Look at it. Like, hopefully, ideally, everybody's like, oh, that was good work. Wow, look at that. That was well done. That's very Saturnian energy of like and protect. They're very protective. So that creating a safe space for the family and creating a safe dynamic. And, with this comes discipline, because discipline equals safety, doesn't it? If you think about it. Okay, you want to go down, sweetheart? No, you don't want to go down. You want to be up, but you don't want to be down. Okay. So the number 9 energy is all about that dynamic power, which is the power of the warrior. So when you see an Enneagram that says number 9 is a peacemaker, please just laugh into your fist, because that's what you should be doing. 9 is not a peacemaker. Aries is not the peacemaker of the zodiac, neither is Scorpio. They are the opposite. They are here, like he says, they come with a wrecking bar. Scorpio is very obsessed with transformation. Everything's got to be transformed and purified. Aries, the new frontiers have got to be broken. There can be no new unbroken frontiers with Aries. They want to start off. If you bring an Aries person into your home, they've started reorganizing your home before they walked in the front door, right? Oh, that picture's not straight. Let's straighten that out. They're. It's like I always say to my mom's Aries, I always say, Mom, please use your head and your mouth before you use your hands. She go to my house, start reorganizing. I'm like, whoa, mom. Because they can't help themselves. They're so active. They're so like as soon as they think it, they've done it. That's why they're good warriors, right? They don't think and then do. Their action is what they're thinking. They act out their thoughts. It's a very spontaneous energy. It's probably one of the most spontaneous vibrations that there is number 9. So it's nothing to do with peacemaking. Peacemaking is number 6. Like you want harmony. Everything's about harmony. The 6th star is about the harmony of the zodiac. All 6 things dancing around the sun, nice, neat little patterns. Everything's in harmony. Everything knows its place. Everything moves in accordance with the harmonic vibrations. That's peacemaking. That's like bring the peace. Libra, you want a peacemaker? You bring a Libra into the situation. The Libra will be able to like, I'm hearing your side of the story, but what about this? And to the other one, I'm hearing your side of the story, but what about this? Where do the two compromise? Where's the scales of justice going to find a middle point between your two different situations and find that balance? That's peacemaking. So, yeah, when we talk about Aries, we talk about the first sign of the zodiac, we are definitely talking about a wrecking bar. And it's important to recognize this. And so Aries is that very powerful aspect within us. Well, what does it represent in our bodies? It represents our head. And which is interesting. What do you think? Like the head represents, like on an occult level. Have you? Okay, well, what I would say, if I'm looking at what the head represents from an occult perspective, I would say it represents decision and free will. So I think free will, that spontaneous new idea that wants to generate action. And so the head is the part of the body that directs action, right? We think of the head as being a place where thoughts happen. And I'm like, I argue, well, no, I don't think head is where thoughts happen. I think head is where the junction of thoughts are controlled. If you ask me where thoughts happen, I think it happens more in our hearts. I think our hearts is really where we think. I think our head is where we portion things off, where we create divisions between different ideas, divisions between different feelings, compartmentalizing faculty of consciousness. And that compartmentalization principle is really about transformation, if you think about it. Because to compartmentalize one thing from another thing means that you're taking them apart so that you can put them back together in a slightly whatever different idea you want, like Lego. Now, what do you think about that as a metaphor? Lego blocks.
Yeah, my microphone was off a minute ago because I did start speaking and then I realized it was off. I was saying that the head for me is to do with foresight. Like you have the head of the dragon, Rahu, the north node. You have Ra and Hu both being light, and the head, another name for the head is Ras. So Ra is the head of the dragon. And the head, most people think this is the mind. Using your mind is here. It's not. The mind is all around us. We're in the mind. Another name for mind is spirit or world soul. And what this does, our head, is we can tune into the all mind. We can tune into and be in sync with the all mind. And I think that this is where synchronicities happen with your mind, and it relates to the etheric body as well, because that's to do with structure. And I think that it comes like whatever's going on around us, the force, the thoughts, we tune into them with our minds. This is why it's our head and mind. We tune into the all mind with our head. And I think that some kind of filtration system happens or should happen And I view it as, it's kind of, I use the word synchromistic or even synchro, because when you're in sync, you can be a synchronicity or be in sync with the all mind. And people see numbers, repeated numbers and stuff, or somebody can call you and you're thinking of them, or if you can kind of follow these synchronicities, it can sometimes lead you somewhere. Sometimes you'll see somebody a couple of times and there's patterns. Like, this is how we connect to patterns, the head. Yeah, the pater is the father, which is further, and the head is further. You know, heed my warning, head my warning. To heed is foresight. So this is kind of objectively looking outwards, beyond time, I guess, and you're bringing things into your kind of body, I guess. What I mean by this is your head is a cup. Your head is a cup, like a grail, and it can be a kind of a sink where things come in, like water goes into a tap, like from a tap. When you use this to tap into and channel and tune the frequency, by tuning into all frequencies, by opening your mind, opening doors, things come into your mind, and you can recognize patterns. You can recognize the pater, the father, things that come from further, light codes. But then so that's more of the thinking, but then the feeling is more of the heart. And that's where the moving happens, the movement. You could call it chaos, and then this is order. We try to order things with our minds, put them into categories, but it's important to mix things up and to also have a filtration system, which I would say is the heart, which is the reverse osmosis, the row, the moving, the awe, being moved by things. By, you have oars of a boat. When you're in awe, you're moved. You could say this or that. You're kind of moving the words around or moving the perception around. You have like ore as well in the earth, like iron ore, which is to do with the earth and the heart as well, which is going into, like, digging deeper. So you have the thinking mind, the head, which is the order or the structure, but then you have the reverse osmosis, which is the water, which is the movement, which is the feeling, which is important to separate so that we can feel the information rather than just thinking about it, because our hearts are much harder to manipulate than our minds. Our minds can be manipulated because we just see knowledge, but how do we know that knowledge is true? Where are we getting the information from? It's important to have a structure of kind of filtering systems, like filtering information, so that we know what is true. And this is the reverse osmosis, like a filtration system you can have under your sink, like reverse osmosis, the row. It spins the water and gets rid of heavy metals. Because if we have just our mind, just this order, just the structure, just knowledge, it can become quite heavy. We become heavy. So enlightenment, having a lighter mind, is using the heart as well to feel. And for example, imagine it with your eyes closed. You're kind of feeling through all of this information. You can see this information, see that. But with our mind's eye isn't, like, it's dark in there. What I'm trying to say is that we can see information, perceive it, thinking, logical, rational mind, but it's very important that information moves us. Like, otherwise, what's the point? We need to have a guidance, and we're guided. We can move our vessel or our ship with oars, like this, to be moved. And then we know what's true, because with information, it's like a circle, it's like a field. But then what's the point? What's the point in anything? What's the point in learning anything? Some people say, what's the point in this? What's the point in that? What's the point in any of these systems? Well, the thing is with the circle, the point is in the center, and that center is you. So you have to figure out what the point is, and you do that with your heart. You don't do that with your mind. Your mind is more of the kind of ordering and then the structure. So yeah, that's what I'll say about the mind and the heart, that the mind is more of the thinking, and then the heart is more of the feeling of being moved and getting to the center of the core via intuition, going into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting when we look at these things. So you can see here I've created a structure, and you can't see the top right word. It's the Sahasrara. That's the crown chakra, and the Ajna, and the Vishuddhi, and the Anahata, and the Manipura, and the Svadhisthana, and the Muladhara. Those are the chakras. And we've got the Hermetic principles. Then we've got the inner esoteric manifestations within our consciousness field of these Hermetic principles. And then we have the outer, more manifestational, macrocosmic elements, which are more relating to the Maslow or the Zodiac. And then on the left, we can see we've got the Sephirot listed as well. Now, I don't like that standard model Sephirotic tree as it's been popularized, because I don't believe we were supposed to ever draw the tree, as it's supposed to be a conceptual thing. And so I've put it into this way so that we don't get stuck on thinking in terms of an image of how to coordinate the tree. Because I think the moment you start to think of the tree of life in that particular structure, it limits you. We're talking about something far more abstract, which is why I've abstracted the tree of life and sort of correlated it into the Enneagram, so we can see it as these 9 different numbers, the 9 numerations, the 9 Sephirot that become the Guf, that become the Malkut. And the Malkut or the Masloth are all compounded into different elements, these 9 different emanations. And when they are all finalized into a single unified expression of these 9, we call that the 10th sphere. So that's an interesting perspective to bear in mind. That's why we have 4 different colors of it, because we have essentially 4 different elements dancing around a central element, right? And you can see that in the Saturn square, which I will also present to you guys soon. But just here, I wanted to draw into, so the idea of structure, which is what they call hot. But I don't like the word hot. I prefer the word head. See? Head. Because that's nicely what hot represents, what they call hot. By the way, these vowels were somebody just decided them. I want you to understand that. So when you sing chesed, it could be chesat, right? It could be chosat. It could be chosid, chesot. Yeah. It could be chasat. It could be chosot, right? When we sing chokmah, it could be chikmu. It could be chakma. See, like these vowels have been sort of randomly allocated. I want you to appreciate that. So in the traditional ancient Hebrew, the vowels weren't so set. So when you listen to, let's say you're listening to the Navajo Indians chanting, the shaman, they're going like, he's chanting a Phoenician dialect, mate. This is Paleo Hebrew. We would say, hey, yeah, hey, yeah. Why do they say, Instead of hey yeah hey yeah. It's the same language, same words, different people, different dialect, different place in the world. Guess who I trust more with that language? The Zionists or the Navajo Indians? I'll let you decide for yourself who the Bush Whisperer trusts more when it comes to pronouncing those ancient dialects. But so this is something to think about. They modernized modern Hebrew, changed the pronunciation of words, added in new parts of the language so that they could control the vowels, because the vowels were not controlled. Because what happened was people got together from different parts of the world and they all were using different vowels. Really important to understand this. And so the consonantal language was the same, but when they were reading and pronouncing the language from the Torah, they were all using different vowels, and it became a little bit of a problem. So they standardized the pronunciation, and that's what we got here. And that was done in the 60s. Food for thought. Well, it was done post Second World War up until into the 60s. I think they'd finalized it in the 60s. So the process was happening throughout the 50s, I'm guessing. But anyway, so that's food for thought. So this is why when I speak of the 8th Sefirot, I'm speaking of head. And head is our differentiating tool of differentiation. I think is a really good way to put it into perspective, like Toby was saying, and I don't separate it from feeling. That's an interesting point. People separate thought from feeling. Yes, thought from feeling are happening on a different bandwidth. Like we're experiencing emotions in our hormonal field, and then we feel the effects of those hormones within our system. So we feel the effects of hormones. And the feelings that we feel gives us a sense of being ionized by the hormones. And so we start to pass these ions, and we call this passing of ion, pass ion passion. And so we feel the emotions exist through our hormonal field. We then feel the effects of that in our system. We then act out the passion of these feelings that are already emotions. And then we become attached to the desire related to these passions. Because the passions, when they touch matter, they crystallize into a desire form. So we've got these processes happening on the hormonal, but whenever you feel a feeling, it fires synaptic reactions, right? So any emotion triggers this feeling. The presence of an emotion, because the hormones are producing the shift within the hormonal system, the neurons react to it. So it starts to fire up mental activity. So you cannot distinguish, you cannot really truly differentiate feeling from thinking, because when you're thinking, you're feeling, and when you're feeling, you're thinking. And I like to think of it as like a wave, right? You're either focusing on the crest of the wave or the trough of the wave. But the crest and the trough of the wave are already the same differentiation of the wave. Just the one seems like it's in negative space to the other one. So this is, I think, really important food for thought to understand this correlation between thought and feeling. And this is really like quite a powerful thing, because now we start to move into the second place, right? And the second place, obviously ruled by Venus, ruled by number 6, right? So ruled by 6, ruled by Venus. I've got the artist here, but it has a lot to do with the enjoying of sensation. It's the senses. The art is about music and feeling the wonderful music, or drawing and painting such a beautiful colored thing that your senses can drink it in, or a sculpture that gives like shape and form to a room that if you touch it, you feel the textures. And so these textures on the skin and the rich sensory information that it takes to produce art is really the key to Venus, and it has to do with harmony, right? So Taurus then becomes the embodiment, and obviously a tauric field is like quite an important thing to contemplate when we're looking at Taurus, the throat. And this is where the thyroid and the parathyroid live, the autonomous nervous system driven by the throat very powerfully. And why are these things still kicking on? So yeah, you can't really separate the throat from any of the psychic elements. I'm just going to quickly make sure that there's nothing here that shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, I just want to point out before we move on as well that with the thinking and feeling, like the mind and the heart, I associate them with light and water. So the mind being associated with light, like the head, like to see patterns, patter, and the water being related to more of the heart, the moving, the feeling. But they're one in the same. Like water carries light. And what I mean by this is that if we use the brain as an example, or the psyche, or the all mind, or like the world soul that we're in, with neural pathways, you can view them as electric, as light, but you can also view them as water, as waterways, because water carries information and light carries information as well, and they're both waves. They're both ways. They're both ways of thinking and feeling and being, and it's this electric magnetic dance. So they're not separated. They're one and the same. So if that makes sense, I view it as kind of they're electric and then magnetic, but they're both connected. They both carry each other.
Totally, exactly. So the electromagnetic spectrum is the foundations of electricity is in magnetism, and the foundations of magnetism is in electricity, right? So they are two sides of the same proverbial coin. So yew tree, I like that salad. AEIOU. I like it. IAO IAOUE. Why have we been taught AEIOU when we could say IOAE IOAU IAOUE? Iaoue Iaoue Yahweh. Isn't that interesting? Huh? What does that spell? So it's a different way of looking at the vowels and understanding them, and where I becomes the first vowel. I, me, I. The self, the beginnings of things.
Well, also, as well, the A and E used to be connected. So it's, I look at it as AEIOU, because the A and the E were connected. So now now that connection is owed, because there's been a disconnect. The A and the E have been pulled apart. Even the aether has been taken away. We've been disconnected from that. So it works in both the symbol of the two being connected, and the etymology of the words being disconnected, and also the energetics of us being disconnected from the aether. So it's like AE, aether, IOU. It's in the language that there's a kind of a void created in language, because vowels don't matter. They don't seem to matter. Like, for example, you showed hod. Well, if you put an E and an A in there instead of an O, you have head, because that could be what it means. The hod is the hood, is the head, is the covering. So I think that's like a really important thing to know, is that vowels, just you can swap them all around and you get to the same word, because what you'll find is that in French, Spanish, English, all languages, they just swap the vowels around. Like, for example, claircognition, clairvoyance, it's actually clear. But the reason why it's clair is because clair in French means clear. So why are we saying claircognition? Just say it what it is. It's claircognition. You're being clear. You know, like clarity just means to be clear. You can forget about the itty as well. Itty doesn't matter. It's just added on the end. It's to kind of muddy the waters of clarity. I seek clarity. No, you just want someone to be clear, because that's really what it is. So that's really interesting. Just swap all the vowels around, or get rid of the vowels maybe. But it's fun. It's fun swapping them around and seeing what you can come up. And then by doing that, you can understand what words are. If you've never heard that word before, you can kind of know what the word means without looking into what the word means. And I think this is an invaluable tool in this day and age to work things out ourselves, like intuitively, by kind of like changing it. I wouldn't call it like, it's like morphing it. It's like magic. This is what magic is. Like, if you have the basic structures of a little bit of etymology, like a little bit of like wordplay, like ment being mind, being a mint being good for clearing the mind. You could say it mends the mind. It's all the same word. Mend, mint, mind. It's the same essence. It's all to do with airways, and air is related to the mind or the head. So if you understand little things like wordplay, you know, amongst many others, but that's like one thing which has really helped me just work things out myself without having to search online or listen to anyone else. We can kind of constantly be learning in our heads, you know, just like flipping and reversing, looking at things a different way, having a different perspective, I guess. Taz, you're trying to follow but not succeeding. What do you mean? If you ask a question, I'll try and answer it as best as I can.
You're trying to follow but not succeeding. There's an old saying, Taz, follow me, I'm right behind you.
He said, I'm lost on what he's saying. If you ask me a question, I'll try and answer it, because I'm not sure what. I think, do you mean on like the vowels, on the swapping of the vowels? You know, ask a question, I'll do my best to answer it.
Yeah, you know, I think like when we're looking at these principles, like looking at Taurus, for example, the Tau, that's a cross. The throat is a crossing point. The vagus nerve crosses the junction between the head and the body, right? And the body is the part that is reflecting the cube, the die, right? The body. And cube of space, that Saturnian earthly manifestational energy that's manifesting the physical body. I said panties because Taz was speaking about the panties being too tight, and I was wondering which panties Taz was referring to. I mean, I'm open to people wearing. You should wear whatever you feel comfortable in. You know, if people feel comfortable wearing panties, they should wear them. I personally prefer not wearing underwear. Call it a fashion statement, if you will. I actually prefer not wearing pants. Call that a fashion statement, if you will. Believe it or not, I'm actually wearing pants today. This is one of the first podcasts I've done wearing pants. It feels very strange, but it is what it is. I put on pants this morning. I don't know what had gotten into my mind, but it is what it is. So I'm open to all sorts of possibilities. I don't think there's anything wrong with cross-dressing. Personally, I feel very comfortable in a skirt. My wife always used to let me wear her skirts because I used to love wearing her skirts. Something about that airy feeling. You see, I love wearing a piece of material around my waist, a dhoti or lungi from living in India. I love that feeling where you feel like you're hanging out, you know, literally when someone says, hey, are you hanging out? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm hanging out. This is me hanging out. This is what I do. It's my thing. So, you know, I like hanging out. I'm a Cape Townian. I'm here on the southern tip of Africa. We hang out. That's what we do. We chilled. So yeah, that's what the panties thing was all about. Panties today, panties tomorrow. Just have a panty party. You know, all men love to be invited to panty parties. Girls out there, if you're listening, remember that. Men love being invited to panty parties. But yeah, I think like Taurus rules this in a very profound way. You know, that sensual feeling of panties. Since we talk about sensuousness, if you think of a polarity, you think of Mars, and Mars is. Are you being difficult? Huh? You are being difficult. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. So Mars has got an active element and a transformative element. A masculine action, a feminine a feminine transformation. Venus has got a masculine sensation element and a feminine harmonizing element. So the harmonizing element, you'll see it in Libra. But we're talking about the sensation, we're talking about Taurus. We're talking about the tauric field, the way in which the tauric field represents the manifestation of space. And space, what's going on? What do you want to do? You want to kiss me? Okay. I'll show that this little boy. Yes. So the tauric field is how we experience matter. Oh, you want to play with my diamond? Ooh. So when we think of Taurus, we got to understand that the throat has got Visuddhi chakra has got a valve in it. One of the three major bunts in the esoteric or occult body is the bunt in the throat. When you become highly emotional, you'll get a knot in your throat. When you become overwhelmed by feeling, you'll get a knot in your heart, right? And when you become overwhelmed by passion, you'll get a knot in your solar plexus. So that's quite an interesting point. Now, you've got a bunt in your throat, between your throat and your heart. Then you've got a bunt in your solar plexus, between your heart and your sacral plexus. And then you've got a bunt in the Muladhara, which is your root. So those three bunts in yoga, they talk about the three bunts. So those are places that you can close. They're energetic valve systems. And those three energetic points, you can close them. You can learn to close them and open them physiologically through learning to manipulate inner muscles and inner channels. And so that point in the throat is a psychic valve, and it controls how much psychic potential we allow ourselves. So if you open your throat center, you're going to start experiencing all sorts of stuff that might make you afraid. Like the world will go like, ooh, you know, physicality will start to fade away and be like, oh, I'm not alone. There's other beings here with me. Oh, these weird stuff starting to happen. Oh, I'm having visions of this and that. And it can become a little bit scary when you open this center of the throat, which is why the throat center is the chakra where all of these psychic abilities and psychic powers and the siddhi live effectively. Let's call it the ghost gate. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I've coined it. Dan. BushWhisperer just made a breaking news, everybody. BushWhisperer just coined a new word. It's called the ghost gate. From now on, and from this day forth, the Visuddhi chakra, the throat center, shall be known as the ghost gate. I think it's the best name anyone has ever made for it. And by the way, hashtag BushWhisperer, I said it first. So yeah, the ghost gate is important function for Taurus, and Taurus people are generally very sensitive to the Earth's magnetic currents. And that are the structuring elements of the tauric field. That's why we call it a Taurus. So that sensation that we experience consciousness through is ruled by the center. And then the next stage is Gemini. Now, Gemini has got two aspects too. When we're talking about the ability to communicate, so let's think about what communication is. And so we're talking about the shoulders, right? We're talking about the shoulders and the arms, right down to the hands. We're talking about Gemini. This is how you move energy from one field to another field, right? You shift information from one field to another field. If I have information in my field and I want to shift the information in my field to your field, then I will communicate that information so that this information in my field can shift into your field, right? It's shifting from one phase of energy to another, or from one aspect of my consciousness field into another aspect of my consciousness field, Gemini. And so the arms are how we move things around and shift things around in the physical world to be from one geolocation, physical positioning to another. You pick up this rock and you put it over there. It's now shifted. It's in a new zone, new field of surrounding it. So Gemini is this masculine pole of Mercury. And Mercury also has a feminine pole. The feminine pole of Mercury is that organizing principle of information. That's Virgo. So in the Gemini vibration, we're actually, the toric field is where we are having all of these different psychic fields together. And it's the gateway, the arch of Venus between the different fields of existence. Aries is like just the full flow of the substance. Taurus has given it some differentiation with the arch, right? Gemini has given it more differentiation and the ability to connect different fields and to move things between the different arches. So Gemini is the key to sorry, that was my girlfriend. Gemini is the key to understanding this principle of sorry, just let me let her know that I'm in a live, just so she understands. There we go. So Gemini is this key of this shifting energy. What are your feelings? How do you get on with Gemini people, brother? What are your thoughts on the Gemini phenomenon?
Esme's a Gemini. My moon is in Gemini. I get along with Gemini people really well. Yeah, I get along with Gemini people really well. I find them quite, well, it's funny because Esme loves being outside, loves air, loves the wind. Whereas I like it when it's sunny, but I prefer being inside. I like being by water as well. But it's interesting that she's a Gemini. She just has to have lots of air. But yeah, Gemini people, Gemini women, men, quite playful and analytical. And yeah, I get along very well with Geminis, both men and women. Yeah, I think they've got, especially men, can have quite a dualistic nature with the Gemini. I find that they're quite youthful. But yeah, it's really interesting that Gemini is related with the lungs as well. Obviously, like airways, because it's an air sign, and also the nervous system, and as you say, the shoulders. But yeah, it's really interesting because I've just been playing around with the tau and the cross, and looking at the Greek and the X as well. So with the Tau, just moving back slightly, and I'll get back to Gemini, is of course a cross. It looks like a letter T, which is the 19th Greek letter, which would be a 10 or a 1, which is the year in which we're in now. X is also the 10th Roman numeral, and X is pronounced chi or chi, so it's to do with like energy. And X is the 22nd Greek letter, whereas the cross is the 19th letter. So it's interesting because the X is also a cross, and then 22 is related to truth, and it's like at the crossroads. That's when there's a decision, or that's when you can find a truth. And it's interesting with Gemini because Gemini is also related to the nervous system. So the nervous system and the lungs. And I find this interesting because the nervous system has a lot to do with our energy as well. And of course, it's Mercury. And this kind of ties into Pegasus as well, being a mercurial figure, and the dragon, and lung being another name for dragon, like long in Chinese means dragon. And to do with our breath, because when we're able to kind of breathe and relax, our nervous system is relaxed, and therefore we're able to kind of be more in sync with our hearts and our mind, because the throat connects the heart and the mind. But it's kind of the air and the lungs which kind of move everything around our body. Like our airways are here, but also our oxygen needs air for it to travel around the body properly. So that relates to the X or the cross or the chi or the energy. So I find that really interesting. I'm a little bit behind because you were talking about Gemini, and I'm still working out the Tau cross, and then all its links. But obviously the throat is connected to our nervous system too, as well. So we have Taurus and then Gemini here. And they're both very well, as everything is connected, but they are very heavily connected, because if our nervous system is disrupted or closed off, or if our lungs are closed, we're not able to speak our truth. Like if we have a lot of if we're able to breathe and our chest goes out and we're kind of like relaxing my shoulders are always really tense, but if we're able to like relax our shoulders and our nervous system is more relaxed, then we're able to speak easier. We're able to be more kind of in flow. So yeah, I'll let you carry on with Gemini. Yeah,
they are so connected.
Yeah.
We differentiate everything. So what does Gemini use to communicate? The throat, the mouth. And Mercury and its relationship with the central nervous system is unmistakable. And so even though you can see the one carries the vibration of the one after it. See? And so we've got this Venus element within the throat of the hormonal system, which is really like emotional intelligence, that emotional intelligence of initiation that is required to go into the deep mysticism and the occult, to understand the occult, esoteric doorways within our hearts, our consciousness, is really the role of Venus as an initiator. But Gemini, Mercury, is that element of the same doorways being used to transform and alchemize and change and shape things. that number 5 in the center of the Enneagram is really the key, right? And when we start to see this, what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? There we go. We can just add on top of each other. Isn't that so cool, huh? So when we look here and we see number 5, right? We see number 5 on this picture here. And we can see number 5, the adventurer, Mercury. Mercury is the number 5. It always has been. It's the number of man, humanity. So Mercury represents humanness. And so our arms and our hands define us. Isn't that interesting? More than our heads. We are defined by what we do, not by what we think and say. I think, therefore I am. What do you think? I think, therefore I am. I do, therefore I am. Right? So that's an interesting concept. You know, we can think and say whatever comes into our minds, but we will only do that which is within our what we feel compelled to do. And you know, I think it's a key. Oh my gosh, there it is. My next delivery. My next delivery. I got a lot of deliveries today. I will only be a minute, dear brother. I'm just gonna quickly go and check in my delivery. Your mic is mic'd. Mute.
Yeah. I saw. So what's interesting about the number 5, the center of Saturn's cube, is with the word 5, it's spelled F-I-V-E, but the F can be changed with a P and a H. So like 5, like Sophia is spelled, it can be spelled with an F or a P and a H. So this brings me to phi and the golden ratio. Golden ratio. And phi, the golden ratio, is a spiral. It always goes to the center, to the central point. And of course, it's like a sphere, like Sophia. Like that's what wisdom is. It's a spin. It's a continuous spin. It's not the square. It's not the outsides of the cube. It's the center. So it's spinning around. Like we spin round, but we always come back to something and find a deeper truth. That's what wisdom is. To not constantly be in linear time, but to be in flow time, like in a spiral, going in and going out at the same time. To constantly find the deeper truths behind things, to get to the essence and the core. So the 5, the center of the cube, phi, and then that brings me to pi as well, because the symbol for pi is very similar to the symbol for Gemini, which looks like a gate or like a doorway, like 2 pillars and an arch. So that's interesting. And also as well, we have our eyes, and Iris was a goddess. She was a Greek goddess of the rainbow and a swift messenger of the gods. Iris, that's our eyes, messenger of the gods. So that's interesting because we have Mercury, the messenger of the gods. And we also have Iris. Well, these are irises, and they're a pair. They're twins. And we have the name Gemini, Gem in eye, which is interesting. Because I know Gemini is not related to the eyes, but they are. Because Gemini is Mercury, which is messenger of the gods. Geminis love communicating. It's to do with communication. And we communicate with our eyes. We take information in, but also you can tell by somebody's eyes how they're feeling, how they're thinking. Our eyes can tell a story. Sorry, my doorbell's going. I just need to go answer that.
If it's not one, it's the other. You gotta love that. So my doorbell went, and now his doorbell's going. On the upside, my doorbell was a whole lot of charcoal nibs, capsules for burning my incense. Ori, go lie down on that side, my darling. You're making a lot of noise here. Please. Good dog. That's my Malamute. When he walks, he has huge footsteps because he's a giant dog. He's a big dog. Go lie down, my darling. Go and chill out. He's all excited now because it was a doorbell. And, who was here? Oh, he didn't get to go out and check. Because then I have to let the little one out. The little one's a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. Because he'll then want to stay outside and then he'll be banging on the door like he was 5 minutes ago. So, yeah, there is this connection with the eyes and Mercury, interestingly enough. When you think about the feminine pole of Mercury, you think about Virgo. You think about reading and studying. The eyes are really the key to that. Reading and writing. This is like primary form of communication, if you think about it. So there is a fundamental and powerful connection with, the gem in the eye, as it were. Grounding questions. Where are my feet? Where are my feet? Where are my feet? Put your feet on the ground on your feet underneath. With your legs balancing on the places where they meet. Where are my feet? What feet have you done? The past of your experience. So the feet that we are, so that's Pisces. Look what feet, it's obviously Pisces. Pisces. That's like your deep unconscious. But which is feminine pole of Jupiter, and we will get to Jupiter just now. So yeah, this action of Mars in the head works with Gemini. Remember what I said when we were looking at the Enneagram, right? And you can see it so clearly on the Enneagram. You can see it so, I can see clearly now we've got the real Enneagram. I've washed away falseness from my eyes, you see. Okay, so when we look at the proverbial real Enneagram, we can see the connection between number 5 and 9, right? And we can see that in the Zodiac man. This is why you must never use the false Enneagram if you want to get a true idea of how things work. Because the number 5 is Mercury and the number 9 is Mars. Mars rules the head. But how does Mars achieve its objective for action? It uses the arms and the hands. Mars people, Aries people, their hands move first. But Gemini people, their minds move first. They've got very quick, agile minds. Gemini is the quickest, most agile mental. I get on well with Geminis. Well, there's 2 different kinds of Geminis. One Gemini I don't get on well with at all. I'm like, the other Gemini I get on really well with. You get some Geminis that have like duplicity, right? Because their minds are so active, they can see every different side of it, but sometimes they can have duplicity. But if the rest of the zodiac is well aspected with Gemini, they've got the fastest, sharpest minds out of anyone. They're delightful people to speak to because their minds are awake and scintillated, full of mental energy and, very intelligent people, Geminis. Yeah, they can be very, very intelligent people, and it's lovely to speak to intelligent people. So Gemini activates the head. Mars activates the arms. So you can see this relationship with number 5 and number 9 expressed with such perfect synergy. And that 9, as I was saying, is the dynamism which is produced by the movement of 5 and the discipline of 8 put together. So you'll see a connection with Saturn, with 8 as well when it comes to the head. And that's the other thing. Like Aries, they want to charge forwards. So they want to charge forwards. They're using their knees because it's all about the little running legs, right? Charging forwards. And the hands are out, like charge forward and grab all the things. That's like Aries. So if you think about it, those are the 2 most important points on your body. Like if you're training to be a warrior, right? like your stance for your knees and how you on the ground, and your hands. Is your guard up? Are your hands ready? Can they defend? Can they strike? Can they, what's going on with your arms? So, you think about martial arts, you think about these two elements, your knees and your hands. And obviously, Aries and Capricorn work together. So you can see, and then your reflexes, how fast you can react. That's Gemini. So when you put together the number 5 and the number 8, and you put them in a synergy, you end up with a warrior model, right? Number 5, quick reflexes, quick movement. Number 8, stable foundations, able to hold a lot of force. If you've got a good stance, you can take a punch. You don't fall over. You go like, In fact, if you've got a good stance and someone hits you, you can break their hand with your face. Did you know that? Oh yeah, baby. Like, you can use your face as a weapon. Yeah. Woman, you need to know this. Get a good stance. If a bloke ever hits you and you position your face right, he will break his hand. Sure, you'll have a sore face, but he'll have a broken hand. Your face won't be broken. It might be bleeding. It might be like bunged up, but he'll have broken bones in his hand. So, stances really empower martial arts in a big way. So, that's like what I would say we don't understand about Gemini. And now when Gemini crosses over into Cancer, we have that same relationship, because Cancer rules the chest and the breast, right? The breasts. Why? Men love the Cancerian part of the body. A lot of men love women. Like when a man says to a woman, I love the way your Cancer makes me feel, baby. He's not talking about her illness. He's talking about I love a woman that can carry Cancer in a Zodiac fashion. It means my baby's going to be well fed, right? I like well-fed babies. Every man likes a well-fed baby. That's why men like women as big Cancerian objects. But it also has a relation to the lung and to prana and to life force, because the lunar element, the moon energy of the Cancerian. And so now we're dealing with a number 2, right? And Cancerians, as we know, are extremely sensitive to emotions. Very, very, very empathic people. Like highly empathic. And but this is that life force prana that can feed the Gemini mind, because what we don't realize is that the act of thinking uses more oxygen than even action, or it seems to use as much or more oxygen. I don't know. Have you noticed that, like how much oxygen it takes to think?
Never thought about it, but I just want to point out, with Cancer being a crab which has a shell, and the words armor, like the shell is that armor, but that's more amor, which is love. Love is their armor. Whereas with a Scorpio, their shell is more of an armor. I'm saying that because I'm a Scorpio rising, 29 degrees, that Scorpios can put up a shell, like a block. They can seem quite cold. Whereas the Cancerians, their phrase is I feel. My son Bodhi is a Cancer. He's 4, and he's very cuddly and feeling. Uses his hands quite a lot, and very peaceful. Just wants everyone to be happy. And of course, Aries is I am as well. That's their phrase, I am. And it's interesting that Mars is the number 9, which is Aries. And their phrase is I am, because the number 9 is an I, is the individuation. And Aries are quite individual. They know what they want. So yeah, with the Cancer, their armor seems to be amor, which is love. They use the frequency of love to kind of protect themselves, I guess, which can be detrimental to them. What I've noticed about Cancerians is, especially Cancer women, they usually go for men who are wounded because they want to make them feel better. They've got so much love to give that they want to heal them. So usually Cancer women, I've noticed a lot, go for men who have issues because they want to heal them, because they've got a lot of love to give. But unfortunately, that love can be, they can become drained by that. Sorry, what was your original question as well? Sorry, carry on. But yeah, I forgot your question.
No, I was talking about the connection with life force and the breath and the lungs as it connects to Gemini, as it connects to the life force that comes out of the breasts for a baby. Because a baby is drinking the life force out of a mum from the breasts, which is connected to the lungs. And the lungs are connected to empowering the thoughts, how the brain works. So if you, okay, let's say you're a surfer. How many of you in the group, in the chat there, do any of you ever surf? Are there any surfers in the house? I used to surf before I got close enough to touch a great white shark with my hand. And I was about 100 meters out to sea, maybe more than 100 meters. It was Musenberg. It was right out at the back, and there were big waves, but the waves were far out to sea. So I had to paddle out. The back where all the other surfers were about 40 meters behind me, 50 meters behind me. That's like 150 yards behind me. That was where all the other surfers. I was sitting way out to sea, waiting for the big wave that came every once in a while. It was like a nice, Musenberg doesn't often get that big. It was a 6 to 8 foot nice swell. Musenberg, when it's pushing 6 to 8 foot, it's such a beautiful swell. It's far out to sea. It's lovely. It's mint, but it doesn't often happen. The waves are normally smaller there. You have to go to other beaches for that. But are you boogie board? Right. So let me give you guys a clue about surfing and bodyboarding. I used to, when I was 8 years old, I used to bodyboard in a place called Llandudno, where the swell can push 10 to 12 feet. When the spring tide comes, the waves are big. And this is a fast wave. It's a closeout wave. And the surfers would be standing on the beach because they were too scared to go out because it gets rough. When it's a 10 to 12 foot wave that's pumping, it's fast. And if you get hit in one, you get caught in the washing machine because it's a far out to sea wave. It's an Atlantic Ocean wave. It's very fast waves, Llandudno. Unlike Musenberg's, a slow, relaxed wave. So I used to get into the washing machine, and I used to boogie board when I was young. And I learned when I was a child that when you get into the washing machine, you can't breathe. And the more you think, the worse it gets. So if any of you are ever surfing or bodyboarding and you get into a washing machine, you'll know what a washing machine is when you're in it. The best thing you can do is roll yourself up into a fetal position or into a ball and hold your knees. What I used to do is I used to hold my knees and I used to put my head backwards and I used to roll backwards as if I'm a ball rolling down the hill. And in order to center, because you go round and round, if you leave your arms out, in Llandudno, you can break your arms and dislocate your joints if you leave them out, because the wave's so rough. It's you're spinning and you're bobbing and your arms, you can get hurt. Besides, you can knock your hand or your arm on a boogie board. So the best thing is to tuck your head in, tuck your knees in, tuck your head in like a ball. If you get hit by a board or something, it's less likely to be like, in a fatal place. But so I used to roll myself up and I used to position myself so that I was tumbling backwards like I was doing a somersault with my feet over my head. And you just go into your mind and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just count in your mind. Just count in your mind. Just count. The reason you count is because I noticed that as a child, you get really scared because you're under the water for like 60 seconds. But it feels like 3 minutes. Like if you're in a deep washing machine, you're under there for a long time, and you think you're gonna lose your life because you can't breathe, and you start to panic. And the moment you start worrying and you start thinking about it, my gosh, it is a nightmare. So what you do is, right as soon as it starts, you get comfortable, roll up in a ball, get comfortable, and feel yourself bobbing backwards. And it's actually quite a nice sensation. When you start counting, you start feeling quite nice, like you're on a merry-go-round or something. It's actually quite fun. And then you never run out of air. You don't run out of air. The moment you're thinking, you run out of air. And so I noticed this as a child, surfing big waves. My mother had no idea what I was up to. I remember I've been unconscious. I've lost consciousness underneath the water before, twice in my life, in those waves at both at Llandudno. When you're under the washing machine for a long time, sometimes I would fall asleep in the wave because I'm counting myself. I'm counting so happily and so nicely, I fall asleep. Can you imagine that? Falling asleep in the middle of a washing machine wave because you're so comfortable, and then waking up on the beach. Believe it. This is how it works. This happens. So, and when I practiced meditation, then I realized, I trained a lot in meditation. Yeah. When I say 40,000 hours, it's more. It's more than 40,000 hours. I don't know. But it could more likely be 50,000 hours, maybe 50, 60, who knows, but more than 40,000. So when you train in meditation and you train a lot and you become very devoted to your dhyana, your meditation, you'll notice this relationship between your thoughts and your breath. And when you stop thinking, you can stop breathing. You don't need to breathe much. If you're not thinking much, you don't need to breathe much. So if your mind isn't active, if you breathe 1 breath per minute, that's ample. So you can sit for 2 hours. And if you can keep track of your breaths, then you'll know if you get a good rhythm and you find a rhythm that you like. For me, 1 minute per breath was a good rhythm. And so if I start now, I'll probably easily start on like 1 breath every 40 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And then slowly it'll take about 15, 20 minutes to get to maybe 30 minutes to get to the rhythm of a minute. And when you're in that rhythm, you can stay in that rhythm for long. And time changes, time dilates, changes the way time flows. So that's the key to getting a good healthy state of mind, is not having an active thinking mind, and oxygen is fundamental. So this relationship between Cancer and Gemini is like, and speaking of Cancer, the life force and the prana and the lungs and the breasts, we then get to the spine and the heart of Leo. Leo is the backbone. Leo is the lion, courage, the courageous heart. That's the lion. And the lion will want to go out and where Aries is got a impulse to break new barriers and go through new things, the Leo has a driving need to be self-propelled. So that like fundamental stubbornness, like that's probably got its most prominent expression in Leo. And that's the spine, that's the axis mundi. And the axis mundi is what the prana and the life force spins around and flows through. So your spine is your channel for your life force. Your chakra system is located throughout the spine. And that's where all the energies are flowing through your consciousness and your body, and different tones and frequencies are manifesting through your hormonal field. So when we look at the spine, we look at the hormonal endocrine points that are expressions of the nerve force. And this expression of these nerve force through the chakras is really related to the spinal column. And so that spine is your staff. And so that Leo then becomes the center, the stage. What are your thoughts, brother? Leo and Cancer.
Well, and I've been working on something while you've been talking, which at the end I'm going to show. I'm still on the Tau. I'm still on the Tau cross because some things that were said blew my mind. So I've been kind of following that trail while you're talking about surfing, and I've written some things down which I find very, very interesting. So at the end, I'll say that, but I don't really know much about Leo. I don't really know much about Leo. Leo people, I always find are quite loyal. Leo guys I've met are very loyal, whereas Leo women and girls, if they're not in tune with their spiritual side, they seem they're a bit mental, basically. Leo girls I've met, if they're not in tune with their spiritual side, they can be a bit crazy. And you know, I haven't met loads, only like a handful, you know. But yeah, guys I've met are quite loyal, girls very crazy. I'm not really sure how the Leo and Cancer fit in. You said Leo was to do with the spine, backbone. Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
And the circulation throughout the body of energy and prana and life force, the sun.
interesting. Yeah. Well, just so with circulation, you have cayenne pepper is really good for circulation. And if we split that, don't worry about the spelling. It's more of the chi in. So chi is this is the Greek letter X, which is X, which is the cross, which is a Roman numeral number 10. 10 being related to the sun, the 1 or the 10, the sun, solar, relating to Leo. So that's the chi or the chi, the energy. So chi in, it's to do with activating that solar energy, which would relate to Leo, as you say.
Yeah, cayenne pepper is a solar thing, yeah. So if you wanted to do a ritual, right, for the sun, and you wanted to do a ritual that related to the sun's energy magically, cayenne pepper could be one of your ritual ingredients to invoke the power of the sun. And you could literally be taking it into your body as a ritualistic ingestion of the sun's energy. And by taking cayenne pepper into your body ritualistically, it will increase the flow of the solar energy throughout your body. And that will be reflected in your circulation. So cayenne pepper is also very good for your central nervous system, right? Because it cleanses the neurons. Actually, I think it cleanses the synapse. Am I right or wrong?
I'm not too sure, but what's interesting about that is if it's good for your nervous system, that's Gemini, which is Mercury, and cayenne pepper is a mercurial color, isn't it? It's that kind of like orangey brown, and then also the color cyan, cyan, is aqua, like watery color, which is also very mercurial. I think I mentioned that the other day on the round table. I find it really interesting because it's just the sound, cayenne. Is it the water, the color cayenne, or is it the sort of the cayenne pepper, which is when it's ground up, it's kind of like a browny orange, like very mercurial.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. And I'll show you guy here, just because you're talking. These little boys are talking. He's talking. Oh, yes. He's a bit. You don't want to kiss it. Okay. So cayenne pepper. Oh. Can we see the screen? Is it on? Yes. Yes. You want to talk? You want to go on the microphone? Yeah. Yeah. So why is this not working? Add to the stage. It doesn't want to let me add to the stage. Remove from the stage first that one, and then add to the stage that one. Okay, there we go. So here we can get a sense of. So there is this is the ingredient. It's called capsaicin. I hope I'm saying that right. Capsaicin, right? And that capsaicin basically has beneficial effects on neural life. So it protects the synapses. It reduces the loss of synapses, increases the number of cortical pyramidal neurons, which is critical for brain function. This capsaicin, which is the ingredient in that, it's amyloid beta. It removes the plaque, or prevents the plaque that will build up. Oh gosh, there's my doorbell for my next. So it improves cognitive function, reduces nerve pain, boosts circulation. You see? So just to show you guys that, like, you know, these things work in synergy. And I know I'm going to be there now, Josh. Please don't come and make a drama queen nonsense here. I've just got to get the door again for the third delivery.
That's fine. Well, I think while Franklin's doing that, because I have to go shortly, just going to share my screen, and then I can go through this short little presentation, which I'm going to do on the fly. Well, let me zoom this in. Why is it so small? Right, how's that? Okay, so yeah, while Franklin was talking earlier about surfing, I was just playing around with Tau, and I've uncovered some very interesting stuff. So you have the Tau cross here, which is like a letter T, but also it's called a cross. So if we look at the Tau in Greek, it's the 19th letter, and of course the 1 and a 9 makes a 10 or a 1. And we know that the number 10 in Roman numerals is an X, a cross. So in Phoenician, one moment, Phoenician Tau. So Phoenician Tau is the 22nd and final letter of the Phoenician alphabet, or the Hebrew alphabet, which means truth. So, yeah, so it represents the Tau as the 22nd Phoenician alphabet, and is shaped like a cross, an X. So the links I'm trying to make here, and it's quite difficult to do it on the fly, so I'm just going to read out what I've written down here, and hopefully it finds people well, is that the Tau cross is spelled T-A-U, and Tau is the 19th Greek letter, which is, of course, an X or a cross. And in Phoenician, the Tau, sorry, let me get this up. Right, Phoenician Tau. Yeah, so in Phoenician, the Tau is spelt like an X or a cross. And it's interesting because the cross is a 22nd Greek letter, which is an X. The 22nd Hebrew letter is Tau, which means truth. And the X is also pronounced as a chi or chi. And what's interesting about the Tau, T-A-W, in Phoenician, is that in language, the T and the D can be swapped. So the Tau could be a Dao, D-A-W, like a door. So the X or the cross then becomes, or the truth, then becomes a door. So I find this really interesting. And even the X being the 22nd Greek letter, 22nd Greek letter. Why? 22nd Greek letter is chi, uppercase X. It's interesting because the number 22 is related with truth. So it seems that on the cross, it's related to truth, and this takes me to Christ dying on the cross, because this can work a multitude of ways. It's like I'm of the understanding that this is a major gaslighting of our psyche, and I'm going to explain that. I've always had a lisp, okay, since I was a kid. And this has worked to my favor because I've come to the understanding that you can play around with words and language, and we can find the truth when we're in play, when we're using our intuition. Like childlike wonder of like, oh, what if I do this? So first off, with lisp, it's spelled L-I-S-P. You swap them around, you get lips, because it's to do with our lips and how we talk. So why this is interesting is because the word thinking, which is related to the cross or the chi or like our energy, because when we're thinking, we're moving our energy. Like a question is a quest with our ions. We're seeking something with our energy, with our chi, opening up new doorways. So that's why the Tau, T-A-W, could be a D-A-W, a door. The Tor becomes a door. The Tor is a door. The toroidal field is a door. It's a vortex, it's a portal. So thinking can become sinking, because with our mind, we think, but also we sync. We can become in sync with stuff. So with the word thinking, because I have a lisp, there's kind of a s behind it. So I believe that the th and the s can be interchanged. So the thinking becomes sinking. And then that could be where we get sin from. The sin, who was the sin king? Who was the king that died for our sins? Was he thinking too much? Is that why he died on the cross? Did he change on the cross, crossing over, but bridging spirit into matter? Is that why he was hung up on the cross? Because he was crossing over to the other side, and the powers that be didn't want that? That's one option. But also, in relation to the snake and Lucifer and Christ being synonymous, wisdom, Eve biting from the apple of good and evil, the this or the that, the bridging of the seen and the unseen. Bridging worlds seems to be where they don't want us to be. And we bridge worlds by thinking, by syncing, by being in sync with our the all mind, you know, the spirit without and the spirit within. And we are the bridges for that. We are the bridges of worlds. We are the messengers of gods. Hence why our irises, our eyes, is another name for a goddess who was the messenger of the gods. So I just wanted to tie in those threads that if you kind of follow these weaves of the Tau cross, look up what Tau is, the Tau, the 19th Greek letter is a number 10, which is a cross in Roman numerals. And then the X being the 22nd Greek letter. Well, the 22nd Hebrew letter is Tau, or no, Tav. Is it Tav? Anyway, very similar to Tau, T-A-U. The U and the V, the only difference is a point. And then the only difference between the Tau, T-A-U, and the T-A-V and the T-A-W is just an added abbreviation. It's all the same. The Tau, the Tav, the Tau, the cross, and the truth is all the same. And guys, we're in an X year. We're on a cross. We're right in the midst of the bridging of worlds. We've gone from a number 9 to a number 1 year, or a number 10. And this whole like Christ dying on the cross, dying is just changing, is morphing, changing form. We're on the threshold of bridging worlds. Like right now, we're able to tap into the all mind or spirit, and we're bridges for that to bring it into matter. And this relates to the etheric body and the morphing and the magic. So I'd love to get a bit deeper into that another time with you, unless you want to do that now. So I've got a bit off topic, but frankly, when you mentioned the Tau cross, I went on a whole little weave of, oh, what's the Tau? What's the Tav, the X, the cross, the truth? It's all the same. And we're in an X year. Truths are being revealed now. Yeah. In this X year, the cross, Christ dying on the cross. He was a truth seeker. He spoke up. He was thinking and he was in sync. He became the sin king. And that's a huge gaslighting on our psyche so that we don't think. So we're not in sync. Because he died for our sins. He died for our thinking. So now we don't need to think. We just need to be in ignorance. And that ties into Adam and Eve and the tree and the snake and the wisdom and Christ being the snake as well. And the snake being demonized along with the dragon, because Christ had dragon energy, 100%. So I really enjoyed going down that little weave journey.
Do you want to know something interesting?
Go for it.
The whole idea of the word tav, that's modern Hebrew. They're trying to hide something. It was traditionally called the Tau. That's why it's the cross of Saturn. The Tau is the cross of Saturn, Saturn's cross. That's why Tau is ruled by Saturn as a letter. That's why the tarot card, the world is the embodiment of Saturn. Saturn is the embodiment of form and time, right? So, that's quite spot on.
I'm wondering, is there in language, is there a cross between the TH and the S? Like a
yes. Yes.
That makes so much sense. In that case, I'd love to hear more, but in that case, Saturn becomes that urn, that in which you earn. But also, what is an urn? It's a carrier, it's a vessel, because Saturn's to do with structure and boundaries. Is a vessel, like our body is a vessel.
Think of how the Greeks pronounce it. X. Think about what an X is. It's not it's an X. right? It's a hard S that starts with an abrupt X. So we think of X and S as being different, but when you actually listen to the letter, it's the same. And in some schools of Hebrewic pronunciation, the Tav is pronounced like a S, but more like a hard S, where Samek or X. So that's why the Greeks have the letter X, because it represents the Tau cross. So, and there is the which is it, the Luraic? I think it's the Luraic Kabbalistic model. The Tav is pronounced as an S. So there are other older models that contest the pronunciation of certain letters. But if you listen to what a th, they are both a very similar action. They both are like aspirating against the teeth, right? You see?
Ooh. I've just had a thought. Salad's just said thoth and thought. And it reminds me, if the T and H could be an S, thoth and Soph, as in Sophia, there could be a connection between Thoth and Sophia. Because Thoth is the god of wisdom, scribes, writing, magic. There's a link. There could be a link to Sophia there. Thoth and Soph. The oath being wisdom.
Could even be soft. You see that makes a lot of sense. Soft. Because if you were going to put it on the end of a word, it wouldn't want to be pronounced as an S. Right? On the end of a word, because it has to be a hard sound. The end of the word would have to be pronounced like an X or a T. Because otherwise you got that feminine inflection like you would get with a Samek, which is like related more to Sagittarius. But it's really interesting. And you know, there's definitely the toric field is the culmination of the whole spectrum that we're talking about. Because as we see when we look at the toric fields, okay, so when we move from Leo, which is the spine, which is the circulation, which is like bravery and all of that, and when we go to Virgo, what do we get? We get the virgin, we get the purification. So this is sort of, you could think of Aries and Gemini, Aries and Taurus and Gemini and Leo and Virgo, right? Virgo is like where things are changing. That's like that purification. And that's that feminine pole of Mercury, what we were talking about before, right? And that feminine pole of Mercury is like learning, right? So learning is like earning with an L, learning. And luring in information, like pulling it into your head, as it were, fishing for knowledge. You get a good lure going. Allure, the allure of information, knowledge. And so Virgo then obviously relates to our stomach, to our intestine system, right? It has to do with the digestive and absorption of knowledge, right? That element of the breaking down and absorbing all of the information from the food that will become the information that the cells can use in order to replicate more information to keep the body replicating. So the body is an information highway that replicates information from food, which is a source of information, and Virgo is that part which is going to digest, assimilate, and bring it all into sort of one correlating function. And once that has been absorbed and after being broken down, it's going to be circulated throughout the system with Leo. And what has been circulated throughout the system with Leo is then going to be like brought into sustenance, Cancer, right? And that will then be put into action, so that action can be generated through Gemini, and that will be fundamentally taking us through the gate of life of Taurus, so that we can, with Aries, make a forward momentum, that our action can become an expression of who we are. So this Virgo is that purifying intelligence, which is information ready to build new pieces of us. So Virgo is an interesting vibration because obviously relates to studying, relates to books, relates to organized. It's a very organized sort of aspect. Virgo people tend to be quite organized more than most people. And there can almost be seemingly frustration to the firehouses of the zodiac, because the firehouses don't want to be slowed down. They just want to keep moving forwards. But the Virgin is the perfect symbol for this Virgoian energy, and it's very much on the verge of going somewhere, right? But not. And there's this balance between Virgo and Libra. Libra meaning life, Libra. And so you can see how Libra is the you would relate it to the waist, to the organs on the side of the body, right? There's an element of Libra that relates even to the kidneys. But Libra is, once again, that's the masculine pole of Venus. So we've got the feminine pole of Mercury touching the masculine pole of Venus. What have we got on the top? Taurus. We've got the feminine pole of Venus touching the masculine pole of Mercury, Gemini. And now we've got the exact inversion going on here, where we have the feminine pole of Mercury touching the masculine pole of Venus. So you can see there's a correlation happening here in terms of polarizing effects, and that these two work together. And in the same way that the throat becomes the expression of communication for the powers of Gemini, right? You can see how the Libra, which is the scales and the balances, which is that aspect of us which is related to discretion and taste, to have good taste, is related to our digestive process. Having good taste means you're going to eat the right food. It's not going to be off. You're going to know what information to take in, so that what gets assimilated is the correct information you need. So your taste tells you, I can't eat this. It's going to make me sick. I can eat this. This is going to be good. This tastes good. So in nature, animals know what to eat for their health. Instinct is manifesting through these 12 gates. And so there's this correlation that works on two different levels of being, both with the Libra meaning life, meaning that which balance maintains life. So Virgo needs to be implied by balance, because if they're going to assimilate and break down things, it has to follow specific rules. There has to be a balance within each thing's taken apart in relation to other things taken apart, allowed to be within the blood system, which is a state of balance, so that this system can get to the point of inference into the hyper spiritual, mental, not so mundane aspects of being. So yeah, this relationship between Virgo and Libra is like really the key to these fundamental forces that make up the body. But it's also on the consciousness information. We're talking about information and how we store that information and how we regulate what information we will believe. So now we're talking about the sphere of belief. And so that's quite interesting, you know. What are your thoughts, dear brother?
Just a heads up, Bodhi's just got back, so I'm gonna have to head off shortly. He might come say hello in a minute. But yeah, I've just been looking to see what Virgo represents in the body, and it's Mercury as well as Gemini, and the
Exactly.
nervous system and the intestines. So what's coming to me with this Mercury in the body, the nervous system, is that's kind of like the mycelium. You have the mycelium like under the earth, where different parts of how trees and plants and stuff communicate. Well, our nervous system is like the mycelium in our body, which goes everywhere, which is the messenger of the gods, and the gods are the guardians of dimensions, which are different parts of our body. If you want to look at just the physical, but then obviously if you look at the astrological, you have the guardians of dimensions, the constellations, the stars, the archetypes, which we can connect to as well, which relate to different parts of the body. And then the Libra being balance and weighing, and then like digestion, I think you mentioned as well with Libra. You have to be able to digest information and be able to kind of weighing the heart with the feather. The feather is the mutt, but also you have to make sure your mind isn't too heavy, and that you can have make your mind a little bit lighter by like I use the phrase Tai Chi for your psyche. Like, this is Libra, this is finding balance in a chaotic world. There's this dance, this perpetual motion of having the this and the that, and seeing what fits and what you need to keep and what can go, which is this movement. So yeah.
And that's like a really interesting point, that there is this correlation. And like we were saying, we were talking about the correlation between number 5, Mercury, and number 6, the artist. And 5 becomes 6 succinctly. So it's part of the order of being of the cycles of the Sephirotic expressions. So 6 embodies what 5 has become. Or 6 becomes what 5 has embodied. 7 becomes what 6 has embodied. 8 becomes what 7 is embodied, and so forth. So the mystic number of 5 will be the actual number of 6. And 6 will be the occult or mystic number of number 7, and so forth. So these ideas are reflected, and it's interesting, like that you mentioned, this correlation. And I think it's really powerful to recognize that the harmony of what is 6 represents, as well as the security and the fundamental desire towards having a a harmonious space in which to grow in, is all central to these ideas, these pictures, these proverbial archetypes. And I think that when we start to look at the way number 5 and number 6 operate together, when we put them together, we end up with snake eyes. That's quite interesting. Snake eyes, double one. Probably like one of the most important numbers. In Vedic cosmology, we're talking about Shankar Gauri, the Gauri between Shankar and Parvati. So that's the Gauri is the masculine, feminine force, the Shiv Shakti. That's where you find your spiritual gifts. So, there's something in that, something to take on board. And it's pretty powerful, on the best of days. And then powerful on the worst of days too. But yeah, so when we then look at the Zodiac, we can see that these two become the balance and the digestion. Now, the next thing that these two become an expression of is the genitalia.
I'm
The
Franklin,
genitalia.
I'm gonna
Yes.
have to shoot off now. So I'm just gonna like finish up with something just because I need to go to work.
Fire away, brother.
But yeah, what I'll just finish on is with Thoth and Soph, as in Sophia. Thoth being an ibis, his animal, which is a bird, which is much like a crane or a stork. And him being the messenger of the gods, the writing of scribes, god of knowledge and stuff. Well, if we look at the word stork, that you have the beanstalk or the stalk of a tree or a plant, or like a stalk emerges. What's interesting about this is that in all kinds of folklore, storks deliver babies. So they carry babies, as in carrying, which is the ka ra in. That the ra, the light, gets carried. So the way I picture this and view this, as I'm gonna tie it in with the Ion Soth. Is that how you pronounce it? Ion Soth? The sort of Sophia being in relation to Gaia or the world, and then the center of the world as well. We spoke about Black Rock and Magnetic North, and one sec, Bodhi. The whirlpool or the well at the base of Yggdrasil, the world tree. So the way I view it, and us in relation to source and our center, is that we are seeds from the world tree. So we're separated. Our seed is separated. It comes from the tree, from the center, from the black sun, where all things are from, which I think is the Ion Soth. I need to look into that. I'd love to dive deeper into all this with you next time, but I just need to get the stuff off my chest because I've been writing it down. So that the world tree, seeds come from the world tree, and those seeds are us, and our seed contains all of the memory of the world tree. This is the Mem and Ori, the water and the light, which is all contained within the memories of everything. And this is how we have access to the Akashic records of the field. All information is all around us. It's all here. And we can tap into it and be in sync with it. And then it can come into our sink, into our cup, our mind. And we can be in tune with all of this information from the world tree, from source, from where we are from. So this ties into the center and the whirlpool, which I would call the world pool. And of course, the pool is the waters in which we're all in. There's no separation. The water is everywhere. This is the pool, the world pool in which we're in. And I just want to go back to Thoth, being an ibis, which is much like a crane or a stork, because storks or cranes carry babies. It's to do with birth. And then I mentioned the stalk being like like the beanstalk. It's like the roots of the tree. So these kind of stories of this stalk carrying babies, or the seed, however you want to look at it, ties into this world tree. It's in the etymology of the stalk carrying the baby or the seed. And yeah, this definitely, it's definitely worth looking into this at another time. I mean, we spoke about Rupus Negro. We had a couple of hour conversation about it, but I think that we've only just started touching the surface. So I'd love to go a bit deeper into that. It's just so interesting how words or etymology playing with it can lead these places, because I would never have thought about this if I hadn't have realized that the T and the H and the S are connected. So the Thoth, the Toth, and the Soph, the wisdom, they're connected. And then the symbol of the ibis and the crane carrying babies is so interesting. So I should probably get going to work, but this has been a great conversation. We're like not at the roots of it yet, so yeah, feel free to carry on, and next time perhaps we can delve deeper into what I've just laid out with the Ion Soft energy of Sophia, the blackness, the darkness, the black sun, Rupus Negro, black rock, currency, the currency in which we're in, the world tree, Yggdrasil. There's so much to unpack there. So perhaps next Tuesday or Wednesday we could do that.
I think that's Tuesday, a good idea.
Wednesday morning. Yeah. So
brother.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks everyone in the chat for being here. Thanks for hosting this, Franklin. I hope you have a great day. And
man, I will carry on. Just run through the Zodiac, and I'm gonna respond to what you were saying as well about the ibis. It's really interesting. Yeah, but I think this is a great topic for next week. Write it down so we don't forget it.
Yeah, well, just I have to say that the ibis bird is the abyss, and what's the abyss? It's the darkness. It's the whence all things come from. So I've made plenty of notes which we can get into next time. Next Tuesday or Wednesday morning would be awesome. Tuesday or Wednesday at 9 a.m. would be good, but we can see close to the time. But just letting everyone know that next week we'll be going deeper into that if people want to come join us. So
Put it
all right,
in your
man.
calendar.
Have a great day.
Big love, brother, and on your way to work, you can still listen on your phone if you've got enough battery.
Exactly. I will be listening, and I'll be in the chat as well, probably, depending how long you're going to be on for. Much love.
Well, travel safe. Have a good day at work, and big love to the fam, man. Om Shanti.
Bye.
Blessed be. Yeah, always an honor having you. Always an honor having the insight and the lovely creative energy in the zone. We love Toby One Kenobi or Shinobi One Kenobi. You like it, you play it as you say it, you see it as you hear it, you express it as you know it. So I just want to add something here. He's brought a couple of interesting points, and I want to bang this point out. I want to drop the hammer on this. Have you guys in the chat come across the idea that Mississippi was Egypt? That ancient Egypt was Mississippi, that what we've got today is fake Egypt. Have you guys come across this conspiracy theory in the chat? Let me know. If you have, mention it in the comments as well, not just in the chat, but in the actual comments, because then people who watch the show later can also be a part of this conversation. Now, there are people out there, like, for example, the Ronin experience. He's pushing this idea like it's I want to clarify something, right? Human beings, when we go to other areas and we populate other areas, we name those areas after the places that we came from, that we relate to. So where I live here, there's a beach called Llandudno, but that Llandudno was named after a Llandudno in Scotland. Yeah, right? I want to be clear about that. Now, there is actually hard evidence. Here we go. Oh, you don't want to go down. But no biting on daddy's neck. Okay, no biting on my necksy. So this is a human, a usual human trait that we do. And so what is the story there? Yes, Mississippi has got an abyss bird. Yes, Mississippi has got black soil. However, There's only a little bit of black soil. I think it's in one region of Mississippi. It's in a very small part of Mississippi where there's a little bit of black soil. It's not running throughout the whole of Mississippi. First point. Second point, they have an abyss there, but it's a different kind of abyss. Are you guys listening to what I'm saying? It's a different kind of abyss. The abyss that you see in the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing is a particular type of abyss that is drawn with the black and the white that matches the kind of the abyss that you see in actual Egypt and North Africa. Egypt, the black soil from the Nile, is related to what would have been the old. Egypt wasn't this tiny place we see on the map today. It was massive, right? So if you go down the entire west coast of Africa, you go Egypt down through Sudan, down through Ethiopia, down through all those countries that go through into South Africa. You've got this band of black soil that runs all the way up through Africa, and throughout all of this place, you have the ibis bird, the same ibis kind of bird that is in the Egyptian hieroglyphics. And I must repeat, there is a different looking ibis bird in America. When you draw the hieroglyphic of the abyss, you are not drawing the American abyss, you are drawing the abyss of Egypt and Africa. That black region of soil travels through, I think it's like about 10,000 kilometers of black soil. We're not talking about a tiny, narrow little patch of black soil like they've got in Mississippi. It's the entire southern region. And if you go and take a look at the past, when there was more water in Africa, which the evidence shows, we can see that, the climatologists and the people who study the geography of the earth have mapped out that there used to be more water and that Egypt was more green than what it is today. There was more black silt coming from Ethiopia into Egypt in the old times. So Egypt had more black soil coming with the Nile. Really important to understand these baseline physical characteristics. So when you hear people flushing their toilet mouths, sorry to say that, but that's what it is, talking shit about how Egypt was manufactured, it's all just fake. There's actual evidence, real evidence. And I was having this conversation in a group, and people react. They come and they make these big claims, and then you say, actually, look at the evidence. Here's evidence number one. Here's evidence number two. Oh, and by the way, Egyptian hieroglyphics are found in South Africa. Very similar hieroglyphics, old, ancient. The same kind of Egyptian hieroglyphics are found throughout that entire region of all of that black soil. I believe that ancient Egypt was massive, and it basically encompassed a lot of Africa, just to be clear. It's not that tiny little block we see on the map. They say that there was an Egyptian empire for a reason, right? So when you hear people trying to say that the real Egypt was in Mississippi, no. The people came to America and they noticed that there were birds here that reminded them of Africa. I think that when we're talking about Egypt, we're talking about most of Africa, to be clear. Right from the north all the way down, that entire side. And by the way, in those regions was where all the gold was. All the gold was being mined throughout Africa. What do they say about Egypt? Gold was abundant. Egypt was the richest land. They had gold on the pyramids. They had gold everywhere. The Queen of Sheba, the connection. Now, in the Bible, in the Solomonic story, we have Solomon making a treaty with the Queen of Sheba, this is Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia was massive. I think that Ethiopia and Egypt were like one thing. So when we speak about the northern and the southern parts of Egypt, and we talk about the and it's symbolically represented as the animals, right? The serpent and that bird, the carrion bird. these two concepts are relating to big stretches of land. I think that Ethiopia was a part of this great empire, which we call Egypt, which is Kemet, and that the Kemetic Empire was a global empire, and that is a big chance that that empire stretched into the Americas, because they had technology in those old days that we're not aware of. They built the pyramids. They didn't use wooden planks and rollers. They used technology. They obviously had ships. They probably had flying machines. They obviously had navigational tools. There's historical evidence of ships moving across Egypt, having a very ancient shipping industry. So why not could Mississippi have been seen as a part of the Egyptian empire? I could believe that. I could believe when you look at the hieroglyphics that are found throughout the whole of this area, and wherever there's the black soil in Africa, that's where you find these ancient hieroglyphs. And I just want to point out that the oldest calendar on Earth, the oldest actual calendar on Earth, does it have 13 signs or does it have 12 signs? It's more than 10,000 years old, and it's called the Adam's calendar, and it has 12 zodiacal signs. That means that the idea of this 12 zodiac was not invented by the Romans. We have to debunk all these crazy conspiracy theories. Yes, the Romans played with our time. Yes, the Romans played with our clocks. Yes, indeed, the Romans did manipulate, and they actually took time out of our calendar and they added time into our calendar, so we don't know what year we're in. The Romans definitely manipulated our calendar, no doubt about it. But all these stories about how we originally had a 13 calendar and we changed it to 12. Sorry, the oldest physical calendar on Earth shows 12. That's the oldest physical calendar. That's Adam's calendar. That's north of South Africa. Yeah, where I live. So just to be aware that there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there that sound good, look good on paper, but they don't have the foundations and the backing of any real solid evidence behind them. And it's just what people want to believe. And, you know, like I've noticed there's this thing in America. Sometimes people just want to think like America's the greatest. And maybe it is. There's a lot of ancient history. I think when we're looking at the giants, I think the giants had a base of operation in the Americas, it seems. And that there was a different civilization in the Americas based on giants, and that those giants were integrated into our global sort of systems. And so there is a lot of very extremely profound ancient history in America, no doubt. But to say that Egypt didn't exist in Africa and that it was in America and that they fabricated and invented the whole story of Egypt in Africa is the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard in my life, because the actual evidence, and there's a lot of it, big rocks. Go to Ethiopia, right? There are 1,000-ton monuments. Yeah? We don't even have the capacity to move those monuments. Single piece of rock, monolithic piece of rock. We haven't had the capacity to move that. You can see where the rock was hewed out of the mountain, and it's a long distance away. We would not have the capacity to move that single monolithic rock in today's. So we could not have done it in the 1800s or the 1700s, because the evidence shows that we did have more evidence. There is evidence of more technology in the 17 and 1800s, but to move that kind of rock around, we don't find evidence of that. So there are a lot of stories out there. But getting back to today's conversation, so where were we? We were talking about the connection between the Libra, the life principle, the balance and the harmony that life represents, and the principle of Virgin and Virgo. And let me check what is going on in the chat. Let me get a little look. Those slaves with robes and pulleys. Yes, Rodney. Yes, the Egyptians were masters of sound instruments, and there's evidence of this in Egypt, in India, by the way. There's rock carvings in ancient India about trade, where India was trading with Egypt. You can see it on the rock carvings if you go and do your homework. India was the master of medicine. So India was exporting their knowledge of the physiology and of the medicine to Egypt, and Egypt was exporting their knowledge of other technologies to India. So they were sharing knowledge between India and Egypt. That seems to be very much a big part of it. Yeah, America is a legacy of secrets. Don't get me wrong. I think the secrets of the giants are in America. And namaste, Tomru. How you doing, man? Welcome aboard, brother. But I think that, like, you'll find these conspiracy theory people that they just want to go too far, right? They just want to like lump everything now. And just because there are a lot of secrets to do with the giants and the technology. And I think that, if you ask me, I think that America is an older epoch. I think it's an older epoch that maybe goes before the time of Chem. This is what I think. Maybe pre-flood. I think America might be so ancient that it's pre-flood. But that's just my thoughts on the matter. And so because people see these very ancient elements in America, they think that everything else is nonsense. But there are different epochs, and there have been different zones of civilization within it. Big love. Have been seen. How are you doing? Namaste. I hope you guys are all well. And D love, namaste. D love. I'm looking back over the chat. I'm seeing everybody's here, man. I hope you guys are all well. And yeah, you guys are making some really interesting points. Creation itself is based on the vibrational thought. Exactly, Tomru. Brian, namaste, Brian. How's it on your end? I hope you're well. America and Scotland. I could believe that there were a line of continents or islands that might have connected them. Who knows? But maybe they weren't like one landmass, but there would have been like lots of little stopping points. That makes total sense to me. So what are you doing? Eh? So yeah, getting back to this idea here, which is really the concept of this zodiacal man. We find the forces of life, Libra, and the forces of that learning and bringing energy in to the zone. Sorry, I can't do this. You're biting me on my neck, and it's very sore. He's getting agitated. He wants to run around and play. These two find their conjunction point in the base of the spine in the Muladhara chakra. And this is where your Kundalini sleeps. And so your root power, sexual energy, is connected through your sacral plexus, connecting the sacral plexus to the root chakra. And so the sexual energy, the woman, it's centered in the sacral plexus, the womb. And in the men, it's centered in the Muladhara, in the extension, the rod, right? The rod of a man. And so Scorpio then becomes this junction point of life force, and is it a feminine expression of the powers of Mars? Remember, we were talking about these polarities before, and so it's quite useful to look at it in terms of the Enneagram, because the Enneagram gives us like a really great sort of understanding of how this works. So Mars, number 9, is externalizing itself as 2. I've got it here as the activist because one of its features is action and activity. Another one of its features is transformation. So the activist is someone that uses action to transform. That's why I chose the word activist to express the number 9's vibrational field as it was understood by the Chaldeans and the Vedic numerologists and everybody around the world, basically. They all concur. This is universal. The new Enneagram system, they just reinvented the wheel and they did a really bad job of it because they didn't understand numerology properly. So, Ikazo, look, to be fair, Ikazo was a youngster when he invented that Enneagram, the New Age one in the 50s and the 60s. And I think he had been reading a little bit of occult books, maybe between the ages of 12 and 19. By the time he was 20, he had unpacked his system. By the time he was 21, 22 years old, he was being interviewed in the world stage and he had presented the Enneagram. And so from there, it developed. So he was still essentially a beginner and he had already hatched the system. And you know what it's like once you've staked your reputation on something and you learn later, it takes a lot of core integrity to acknowledge that you were wrong to begin with. And most people wouldn't do that, especially if they've got a big reputation staked upon something they did when they were young. We see this with people with PhDs. We see this in science all over. And another thing to realize that so-called Enneagram system was really a hatchling baby of the human potential movement, which was deeply inspired and moved with the field of science of psychology. So it was the establishment that generated that Enneagram, to be clear, right? And the establishment, who are the people that have engineered our education and our system of PhDs and doctorates and all of this, are the ones behind creating that Enneagram system everybody talks about, which can't spin. It can't move. So it's not a true Enneagram. It needs to be able to spin for it to have life and for it to have the living principle. And an Enneagram is also, I want to be clear, when you draw a pentagram, you got to put your finger on a line and you got to be able to draw 5 lines. And you must end up where you started without taking your finger off the page or your pen off the page. The same for a septagram, right? The same for a true hexagram, which is not the 2-3 triangle points, which is the actual hexagram, which is drawn like I'll show you one just now. The same for octagram, the same for any star that relates to it. And the Enneagram is no different. That's why on this image, you'll see I have 2 Enneagrams. I have 2 Enneagrams. I have a masculine and a feminine Enneagram, and those are the blue and the green. Sorry, the blue and the yellow. The green is 3 triangles representing the 3, the 6, and the 9, which forms a 9-sided star, but not a true Enneagram. I want to be clear on that. Even though the 3 triangles can spin and it does maintain its integrity for a spinning system, which implies life, it's not a true Enneagram because you have to take your pen off the paper to draw it. This is really important for the geometry, for the sacred geometry to have meaning and context. So what you're talking about for that other thing is not even an Enneagram. So that's why they speak about the number 9, the power of Mars, being something that isn't related to action, isn't related to transformation. It's related to them, to peacemaking, which Aries, the peacemaker, really. Scorpio, the peacemaker, really. Like, what planet are these people living on? Like, seriously, open a book on astrology, please. Open a book on numerology, please. Please. Open a book on astrology and numerology and tell me that other Enneagram makes any sense at all. So this is why I've had to redraw the Enneagram so that it is in alignment with actual mystical properties, with actual mystical knowledge, with numerology for a start. Fundamental and absolutely important. So we can see that the vibrations of 9, having that masculine and feminine element, is expressing its feminine potential here in Scorpio, which is the receptive side of Mars. And the receptive side of Mars, if we look at it, right? So we look at the Enneagram again. We've got 2 elements of Mars. We've got the one element of Mars, which is related to the number 5. The other element of Mars, which is related to the number 4. The number 4 represents knowledge. And this is quite important to recognize. So the number 5 works with the number 3 for Aries. The number 6 works with the number 4 for Scorpio. 4 represents knowledge. Scorpio represents occult knowledge, secret knowledge. Occult knowledge, and 6 is about generating harmony. But before you can generate harmony, you need the transformation or aspect of number 9. right? And so that's what Scorpio is all about. It's about transformation. That's why the card associated with Scorpio is the card for death on the tarot, which represents transformation. That's why the card represented for Aries is the card of the Emperor, representing action. And the Emperor, action, and the card transformation of death are related and connected. They make together a full octave. So to understand these occult principles would help people to gain a deeper understanding of what the Enneagram really is, if we want to understand it in terms of its occult nature, not the way that the psychologists want us to think about it. So so Scorpio then represents that deep current, deep sensitivity to secret things, to the serpentine potential and power of the serpent, and he's trying to, okay, you're being really difficult today, huh? You're being really fussy, hey? Yes, Daddy's little boy. He lifts my toenail and looks underneath my toenail to find the button for the lift. Garthon's his name. He's so cute. So Scorpio then represents sex, and sex represents transformation. And the transformation of sexuality is how we alchemically shift our state of consciousness. And that shift is enough for a woman to be able to open her womb to the universe, to allow a child or a new soul to make an attachment. And that attachment comes, which is a transformation. It takes part of who the male is, part of who the female is, and it mixes the two to create a transformed aspect of the two that can then come through, right? Which is neither the male, neither the father, but has elements of both the female and the father that have been transformed and brought into new life. So Scorpio then is the gates to new life, you could think of. And the Scorpion old symbolism was the eagle as well, if we're looking older. Do you want to go down now? Huh? Where are you going? You're so beautiful little boy. You're feeling neglected, hey? Okay. He's feeling neglected, so he's getting moody. So I'm going to have to stroke him a little just so that he calms down. Yes, you're so sweet. Yes, he's so demanding. It's like being married, man. It's like having a wife. Yes, that is little boy. Oh, he gets moody if I don't stroke enough, eh? There we go. So are you okay? Yes. Oh, he's a daddy's little boy. So that Scorpio energy is fundamental. And so the Scorpio is then going to make a linking and a bridge to Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the thighs, right? The archer. And so the archer is aiming his arrow at Taurus within Scorpio. And so the transformative potential of Scorpio is in this way fundamentally connected with the aspirational high frequency elements of Jupiter's masculine output of Sagittarius, the sage. So Scorpio is embodying the occult knowledge and the occult law, but the sage is the philosophy and the wisdom from whence that occult knowledge and that occult law came. You see, there's carrying the vibrations of the other. They all carry each other's vibrations in a sense. And as the masculine expression of Jupiter, where the feminine expression of Jupiter, Dios Pitta, is in Pisces, the fishes, also representing wisdom in a sense, but of the emotional intelligence. The Jupiter is the expansive intelligence. So it's a high element of creative mind. I like to think of it as creative intelligence. It's probably a really good way of putting it into perspective. And it's a very out there social energy that holds within it the keys of joviality. By Jove being an old name of Jupiter, which represents the joy of expansiveness. And freedom is a big part of this story, right? The freedom of the bow and to shoot your arrow. And the arrow is pointed towards the center of the galaxy as well. So there's that aspect. It's aligning the Antares, our identity, which is our sexual identity primarily, with our center, our cosmic center. So Sagittarius, the sage, very important. And because it's our thighs, it represents travel and journey. Hence, if you were going to go traveling, you would get the blessings of Zeus or Jupiter, because you would be traveling on your thighs. You'd be walking. And with that in mind, you can see the connection between the Sagittarius and Capricorn, because Capricorn has got to do with structure. And that structure represents the movement of the knees and the strain that the knees must bear. And so the knees bears all of the weight of the zodiac. This is the goat. But it's also the required flexibility and strength needed to be able to carry. So if you want to lift a heavy weight, you want to bend your knees. And you want to use your legs because you've got more power in your legs. If you want to strike harder with martial arts, you want to learn to use your knees, your legs, because that's where the striking power comes from if you're really learning to strike hard. So it's a rather fundamental key to strength and power if we think about what the Saturn represents. And the number 8 is obviously Saturn's number, right? And we can look at the number 8 here and we can see, well, 8 is the discipline required to achieve, right? So the desire for success, right, and the discipline are two elements here. Where Saturn carries the masculine desire for success, that puts out that discipline energy. And we see Capricorn very intensely empowered by the discipline energy, very empoweredly, where the social expression to socially, the social currency related to Saturn would be in Aquarius. That's the feminine counterpart of Saturn's energy, which is the next zodiacal point. And this is very interesting how you'll see that the calves going down towards the ankles and the knees are related, because the ankles are very important for movement. The knees are very important for the structure and the strength to be able to carry the weight while moving. And so you see this interesting thing, the Achilles heel story comes up when we're looking at Aquarius. But these are the feminine and masculine poles of Saturn, and they are right next to each other at the bottom of the load, carrying the maximum amount of load. All of this load being carried by these two puts its pressure down into the feminine pole of Jupiter, Zeus, and this is Pisces, and it's fishes swimming in two different directions, representing the polarity within the feet. The feet are polarized, right? Your right foot is receiving energy and your left foot is putting out energy. And so they are literally facing in different directions. And so the Pingala vibrational field is being pulled in by the left or the right foot to rise up into the body. And the Ida energy is pulling down from the left side of the body to channel down through the leg out through the left foot. So the grounding of the earth is our left foot is putting something into the earth and our right foot is taking something out of the earth. And there's an inverse, because on another level the right foot takes in, and on another level the right foot puts out, and on another level the left foot takes in. But according to our current alignment with the sun, we are focused on one particular aspect of the current, which means a masculine output of the left and a reversal. If the current moves and the polarity of masculine and feminine energy shifts as per our journey around the central sun, then you would find that the solar personality would move from being a masculine one to a feminine one, right? And so these personas that we see, right? Venus is often considered to be fundamentally feminine in its energy, in its element. Mars is fundamentally masculine in its energy, in its element, right? And so we'll see that there are these relationships that we see as masculine and feminine. They have reversed at certain times in ancient history because of this Idam Pingala reversal. It's got to do with the shifting of yugas in different ages. And in some points of time, there's a different kind of light. There's two different types of light. This type of light that we're seeing now is dominant. It's the light of electricity. But magnetism holds its own kind of light. It's a cool, different type of light. And when magnetism is in dominance, then we would be experiencing a different type of fluid reality. But now electricity is in dominance, so we're experiencing a physical, objective reality more. The fact that objects are more solid is a reflection of the electrical principle. So these electrical and magnetic principles shift through different times, maintaining the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the physical emanations of physical reality as we experience it, and the field of consciousness is expressed through this medium of polarity. However, according to our perception, according to where we are within the galactic movements, we will experience that experience in a different way. And that's where these polar shifts come from, where all the beings and the deities reverse their sexes. Really important to understand how this works if we want to grasp the polarities of the human body, why the right hand is progressively projecting out prana and why the left hand is receiving. Why when you go to India and you give something to someone, they have to cut their finger, right? They take their finger, they put it under their wrist and they cut it. You've seen this. It's like this. And that is because the receiving hand, and they have to receive with the left hand. If you go to India, you can't receive with the right hand. If someone gives you food, you have to receive it with the left hand. And you want to cut that energy with your forefinger, your Jupiter finger, so that you're not becoming karmically involved with the action of receiving that energy. In other words, your desire body is not becoming overly activated. And so there's a reason for this physiognomy and physiology and why you'll find the ancient cultures do this. But getting back to sort of the Piscean energy, the Pisces energy is like really, it's got to do with the unconscious. It's got to do with the unconscious, the matrix. You see that word? The matrix, the divine feminine. And that divine feminine of the matrix is really essentially right foot to left hand. Yes, exactly. D-love. If you touch your palm of your left hand to the palm of your right foot, they've got the same polarity. You get a weird kind of a tingling sensation, right? Because they're both drawing in energy. But when you touch your palm of your left hand to the palm of your left foot, it closes a circuit energetically. When you put your two palms of hands together, it closes a circuit energetically. When you put your 2 feet together, it closes a circuit energetically. That's why when you sit in Padmasana and you reverse your polarity, you'll find that the right foot is receiving the polarity of what is being bound in the receiving of your left. So they become a single entity where you're just receiving on your left nadi. And on the right nadi, you have the projection of the left foot touching this point so that the projection on the right becomes a unified expression of projection, expression of energy through both the right hand and the left foot. So there's this very interesting physiological relationship, and you can play with it. Play with it with your energy, play with it with your prana. I suggest you do this. Move the prana around your body, feel it flow through your hands, feel it flow in, feel the polarity of this, how it generates, which organs are activated. Put the hands on different places and see how you feel the different percussive energetic frequencies as it relates to this. So yeah, and that basically builds the human body, the whole story. And that's my little boy. Give me 5 minutes, okay, Josh? I'll be with you in 5 minutes. He wants daddy's attention. Everybody wants daddy's attention today. Daddy's just been checking in parcels all day, man. I had a whole lot of parcels that were supposed to have arrived yesterday, and a lot of them have arrived today. I see I've been almost 2 hours, almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 49 minutes. So I'm definitely going to have to be wrapping this up and saying to all of you, thank you for joining us. It's been an honor, as always. I'd like to see what it is that I've missed in terms of what's been said. For me, that would be interesting. So let's see. The rock and the river sit near the destroyed energy center I mentioned, and transmit. Right, I'm with you. Speaking of Matrix, Beltane is 1st of May, yes. And that's the Maypole, exactly, the Axis Mundi. Exactly. And that's Taurus energy. That Taurus energy is related to that. The Taurus is the Axis Mundi, essentially, because it's spinning in and out. And that in and out polarity is let me pull up an image for you guys, because it's always good to pull up images, isn't it? Let me close my Telegram. Why is my Telegram open? So I'll try and be quick about this, because I know my son is waiting, and I told him 5 minutes. So daddy's always got to tell the truth. Very important, so that he learns to tell the truth. So Saturn, let's get that Saturn image up there. You got to love how beautiful and how perfect this image is when we look at it. Just how much is conveyed with it. So here we can see the Axis Mundi is the root of number 4 and number 6. You can see the numbers on the left-hand side here. And the roots of number 4 and number 6 make that blue Axis Mundi. And the 4 is the root of knowledge, which is rooted in the earth. And the 6 is the harmony that is the expression of the top of the antennae to harmonize the forces of earth and of air, of spirit and matter, as it were. And then we have the centrifugic and the centripetal potentials expressed in the two, the 1, 2, 3, and the 7, 8, 9 aspects of the forces. And you can see the sigil on the right-hand side here that represents the relationships between these different principles and how they all fit together. But that Axis Mundi here, you can see that this image that I've got on the right-hand side is really a toric field, right? Because you've got one toric field that is expressing one way, and you've got another toric field that is expressing the other way. So the centripetal and centrifugal potentials are what we experience through a toric field. And this Axis Mundi is really the event horizon. And the event horizon is expressing the polarity as the centripetal and centrifugal potentials are binding that point. So the point in the center is actually a point that runs in all directions, and it represents polarity, represents the polarity of being, which is really that aspect that centralizes us into the into the matrix. And so the matrix is the substance that's being bound and shaped by the toric field. So it really is a beautiful, idea to relate the toric field to this, because then we get a deeper, a more fundamental understanding of just exactly how the system works. And this is relating to Leo. Why Leo? The spine. Why the spine? Because Leo is the head of the zodiac, right? And the head of the zodiac is swallowing the tail of the zodiac. And so when we look at the head of the zodiac and the tail of the zodiac, we are looking at Cancer being the tail of the zodiac and Leo. So you can see how the breasts and the spine are all connected through the heart. And now the heart becomes the expression of our center of our being. And our center of our being, rooted through what they would call Tefarat or Anahata chakra, is an expression of the principles of this the centralization and this center around which all things are rotating. And in the physical body, the heart is the center throughout which the blood matrix is, moving, rotating around the body. So, no coincidences there. And yeah, man, it's been an absolute joy. I hope you guys all got what you came for. I'm sending you all big love and big blessings. It was an honor to host you guys. I hope you have an absolutely super awesome day, an even more super awesome week. And be welcome. We'll be doing the round table on Saturday. That is 12 p.m. EST time. That is 5 p.m. UK time, GMT. That's GMT +1, EST +1, just to be clear. Jeremy and myself will be EST +1, 12 p.m. EST +1, 6 a.m. and GMT +1, 11 a.m. We'll be doing a live on Friday. Not sure what it's on yet. That's tomorrow. And then Saturday, 6 p.m. South African time, 5 p.m. London time, 12 p.m. New York time. We'll be doing the round table. No idea what that's on yet. But it will be on something. Hopefully a fascinating and exciting topic. We need to see where the vibrations are, what the energies are, what kind of frequencies are wanting to be expressed. So sending you all big love. All the conversations are all unscripted and unchoreographed, and we don't really know what we're going to say until we start speaking. So that's why I think you guys keep coming back, because you enjoy the honesty and people just having a conversation, where most YouTube channels these days, everybody's sort of orchestrating a lot of it, sadly, and everything's being controlled by AI. And so it's lovely to have real humans having real human conversations, which is what you'll always get with us. So sending you all big love, big blessings. Take it easy. Keep it sweet. Keep it real. Keep the honesty flowing. Yeah, dear brother Tomru, it's a total honor being here with you guys. And I got to run because my little boy is waiting for me. And I made a promise. You got to keep that promise. As always, dear Toby, an honor having you on the show as well. And write down the ideas for what we're going to have a conversation for next week, because they come in and go out the other ear. But it's definitely related to the three veils of negative existence. So that'll be fun. And as that relates to the to the infinite potentials, right? The Ein Sof or the Ein Sof Or. Anyway, big love, big blessings, peace, honor, respect, and see you all tomorrow.